The whole world's talking about tariffs, but let's do something. We're going to do Gaza this week because,
sure.
there's been so much terrible news coming out of there. Even last week when we were talking about tariffs, which of course was like the biggest story in town, it was bugging me that there was so much serious stuff coming out of Gaza and I really want to do something on it. So that's what we're going to focus on this week. And I've actually just come off the phone with an aid worker in Gaza who was talking to me about how hard it is just doing his job now with the fact that aid isn't coming into Gaza anymore, how hard it is for him as a dad. He's got 3 children, including a newborn baby, and just how much he worries about them. Yeah, I mean, his newborn was quite sick and had to stay in hospital for a while because they couldn't find him the right antibiotics. Just all this kind of stuff that really paints the picture of day-to-day life and the struggles. Just let's start by having a listen to Ahmed describe what it's like before we kind of get into the politics of all this. So this is Ahmed, who is a humanitarian worker currently working for Relief Aid in Gaza, dad of 3.
Ahmed, hi, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Last time we spoke, it was just on the phone. How are you? How are
Yes.
things?
About me and my family, we are doing good, alhamdulillah.
How's your little boy doing? Because you had a baby, what, a month ago?
Yemen, yes.
And
He,
how's your man doing?
yeah, when I called you last time, he was in the hospital. At the same time, when he was in the hospital, I forgot to mention that to you. Yes, when my wife and the kid were in the hospital, the Israeli strike has bombarded the surgery section in the hospital, and
Wow.
that part of the hospital was in the front of the room that my wife and kid has been there.
And were
And
they
that's,
okay?
alhamdulillah, they are okay. Yes,
Wow. So while your wife and baby were in hospital, the hospital was bombed. Is that what you're saying?
yes, that's
Oh
what
my
happened.
God.
Yes.
Ahmed, tell me what the situation is like. We can't see it. This is not how I like to do journalism. I like to be
Mm.
there. I like to see things firsthand. I like to be able to show people. We're doing what
Mhm.
we can from outside of Gaza, and we have to use sources such as yourself to tell us what's happening there. What is life like there for ordinary people at the moment?
As the one living in Gaza, I can say the situation is heartbreaking. With every target or every bombardment, I myself are feeling feared, stressed, and sometimes if my daughter is sleeping, she woke up from her sleeping and come to hug me. And this moment, I want to be dead. I can't live that moment, and it happens a lot. The situation in general is difficult. The water is scarce, the food is scarce too.
Do you have running water in your apartment?
Now water is a luxury. We don't have
Yeah.
water. Everyone has to fill its gallon and wait in a line to fill the gallon.
So that's kind of sobering. It sort of stops you in your tracks hearing stuff like that, doesn't it?
Yeah. I don't know that I could live in a place that doesn't have running water. And
Well, he's Palestinian. He has no option. He can't leave. Now, I actually spoke to a former Israeli politician and diplomat a little earlier. Have a listen now to Ruth Wasserman Lande. Ruth, thank you so much for coming on to chat to us. I really appreciate it.
It's an honor for me. Thank you.
And what's your take on the humanitarian situation in Gaza? Hundreds of thousands of Palestinian civilians caught in the crossfire here. And we've seen the images of what's happening to them. It's horrifying. What's your take on it?
So thank you for asking that, because it allows me the opportunity to really answer from my heart. I have 4 children. I am a mother. And most people in my country do not have a kind of a revengeful take on what should be done with Palestinian, particularly mothers and children.
You spent a lot of time working on Arab-Israeli relations. How do you see this ending?
In my humble opinion, President Trump wants to make an impact in the region in a comprehensive agreement that needs to be reached from the beginning, from the roots. First and foremost, the Hamas needs to be pressed to bring back the 59 hostages before anything else.
So in order to get the remaining 59 hostages back, Ruth, do you think that Israel is going to have to declare an end to the fighting before that happens?
I do not believe that an end to the fighting will bring them back, because this is the only card that is being held by Hamas. I believe that force and negotiation, but under force, will bring the hostages back.
No aid has been allowed into Gaza since the 2nd of March, according to the UN. Do you condemn that?
No.
Why
at
not?
all, because I think this is an excellent, excellent policy. This aid does not make its way to the people at all.
Aid organizations such as the UN would say otherwise.
There's a very simple answer to that, because the Hamas was stealing aid.
So, Tara, just listening to Ruth there, it's, clear just how passionate the views are on both sides. And he said also that there were people in Gaza who would be happy with Donald Trump's plan to move them out of Gaza, that they would rather that. She was like, she was pretty.
Think so.
Huh?
No, people in Gaza aren't happy to be moved out.
Well,
Like,
it's interesting. I mean, I know, but I'm sure, I don't know. It's hard to know, isn't it? You'd think that there would be some people, some young people perhaps, who would be up for that. But the guy we spoke to earlier, who is fairly young, he's probably late 30s. He said that he's not met one person who would want to leave.
According to what I'm hearing from people, no one, zero, no one will accept to leave his country, his land, his home, his memories, and go flee to other country.
And something else that's happened in the last week is that Benjamin Netanyahu has actually seen Donald Trump in person again, Tara, at the White House, his second meeting since Donald Trump returned to office. And before we get onto the kind of politics of what was and wasn't said in that meeting, something that I think people would have expected to have been on the agenda and a discussion point when Biden was in office is the killing of those humanitarian workers, those aid workers that happened on the 23rd of March. Now, a lot of people would have heard about this story. An aid convoy was attacked by the Israeli Defense Forces and 15 people were killed, including a UN worker and members of the Palestinian Red Crescent. It's been one of those events that has truly shocked people. And I think it's perhaps surprising that we didn't get any sense of whether Donald Trump had spoken to Benjamin Netanyahu about it. We didn't get any sense.
He doesn't talk about that kind of stuff, though. He doesn't care.
Have a listen now to what Ruth Wasserman Lande had to say to me a little earlier. There's been no evidence yet presented that backs up the IDF claims that they were members of Hamas. In fact, the UN and the Palestinian Red Crescent have come out and said we can identify these workers as members of our teams.
The UN has presented its opinions. If I believe that intentionally healthcare workers were shot by Israeli defense forces, it's not only an improbability, it's not a possibility, because why would they do that? What would they gain?
Actually, the evidence directly contradicts what the IDF claimed about those healthcare workers.
I stand by what I said. My military, the military of the state of Israel, is educated. And education in the military means that if you don't go by what you're taught, you sit in jail.
So Trump said that he thinks the war's going to end soon, right? So it's like, well, what's he thinking? How's he gonna swing that?
Trump wants an end to a war, so he can take credit for it. I think if Trump just wants it to end, he might be able to strong arm Netanyahu into some sort of deal that maybe isn't exactly what he wants, but creates the impression that there's peace, and then Trump can take credit for it. They clearly felt disappointed by Trump. They went home empty-handed after that meeting.
Someone from his team said it was very disappointing. Like,
Yeah.
they came away with nothing, and that Donald Trump is unpredictable, and that it's really kind of changed slightly since his first term in office in terms of, you know, their relationship.
I think Trump has like a lot of bigger domestic priorities right now, and he might just push Netanyahu to take a deal that he doesn't want, because he's like, I don't have the bandwidth for this. This isn't what the American people voted for me on. I mean, Americans don't vote on foreign policy. They really don't.
No, of course not.
They're all pissed off right now about tariffs. So he's got bigger problems.
Yeah, 100%. You can see that for the average American, Gaza is not very high on their agenda of things that they care about. It would be a very good look for Trump if he did manage to end the war. And certainly Ahmed, something he said to me in the past is that, you know, he really brought a lot of hope to people in Gaza when he achieved that ceasefire, you know, which lasted for the best part of 2 months. And it made a huge difference to, you know, the quality of life for people there. So, I mean, I'm getting the impression that there is hope when it comes to Donald Trump and Gaza.
Well, I think yes, because the fragile ceasefire, which was 50 days, the reason behind it is Donald Trump. And it was a fragile, yes, but he is now trying to do a new one, which maybe I don't trust it. Maybe be good or be permanent.
So, Tara, can Donald Trump end the war in Gaza?
I think he could probably frustrate Netanyahu so much by his disinterest in the war that it might cause an end to it, where Netanyahu was probably holding out for Trump, thinking he'd get a better deal, and after Biden, and just seeing that Trump is not interested and Trump has bigger fish to fry. I mean, he's going to be a lame duck in about a year and a half, maybe sooner than that Netanyahu might come to the realization of, you know what, this is the best we're going to get, and we take what we can.
But it's not quite clear what his next move is going to be.
Yeah, I think the feeling is that he may not capitulate completely to Netanyahu. He'll make Netanyahu accept some things that he doesn't want. He'll be frustrating, and that might ultimately be a good thing for the people of Gaza.
I guess the other viewpoint is that Donald Trump has essentially given Netanyahu a green light to do what he wants in Gaza when he said that all hell would break out if all the hostages weren't returned, right? And then the fighting resumed in Gaza, and it's just been unleashed, you know, from the air, ground operations again. And, you know, it's unthinkable what it's like to live through that.
You know, I think his rhetoric and his language, like, people take green lights from it, and he just kind of, it causes world chaos and disorder. So I think he wants to take credit for a peace deal, and that's what he's going to do. But again, like, Netanyahu came on a week when he's taking phone calls from every major world leader over something that he cares about a lot more, and that's the economic issues in America.
Yeah, and a bit like Ukraine, I think it's proving far more challenging and complex than Donald Trump probably assumed before he came to office, at actually achieving a ceasefire and lasting peace in these countries. Anyway, Tara, we'll definitely revisit this again plenty. Interviews that I did with Ahmed and Ruth, they had so much more to say. They were both really interesting, and we're going to post the full interviews to our YouTube page later in the week. So subscribe, and we will keep you posted on when that drops. And good to see you. Thanks for talking Gaza with me when I know your head is still full of tariffs.
Yeah, I mean, in America, it's like that's all that everyone is talking about. And then obviously Trump's number one goal right now is to pass this massive tax cut plan. And so, you know, on the list of priorities for him, that's probably number one. And this is probably number 10.
Yeah. I can see that. It's certainly in this region, number one. So thanks so much for talking to me about Gaza, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye, Sal.